Hey guys, today I'm going to attempt something impossible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take liquid mercury and then I'm going to make it into a solid lingam and see if that's possible. Now, why is it such a big deal? Because liquid mercury does not solidify in room temperature. You have to really freeze it to a very low temperature, and only then it becomes a solid. But why am I doing this? Why do I need to take liquid mercury and make it into a solid lingam? Because in ancient times there were a lot of mercury lingams made and kept in temples. These mercury lingams were called Rasalingam, and these were kept in the main chamber of the temple, and people worshipped and did rituals for them because people thought that these lingams had special powers. Now, how did ancient people do this? Today, if you go to Wikipedia and if you look at mercury lingams, there's a lot of people arguing about these mercury lingams found in Indian temples because according to modern chemistry, mercury cannot be made into a solid structure. These lingams found in ancient temples are made of 99% mercury. So how did ancient people achieve this solidification process? Today, I'm going to attempt to recreate this process. I don't know if I will succeed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bunch of different materials and then see if I can solidify liquid mercury. Everything that I'm going to use is available from nature itself. So I'm going to mix up all the stuff and see if I can make a mercury lingam just like how ancient siddhars did this. So the first thing we need is mercury. Mercury is a very odd material. It's a liquid, but it's also a metal, and it's also conductive, and it has extremely strange properties. For example, this is a bolt. This is an actual metal bolt. And if I put this in any liquid, it should just hit the bottom of the beaker, right? But if I put this bolt into this beaker full of mercury, now you can see that it floats. Now, this is not only for, this kind of a metal bolt or a screw or something like that. Anything you drop in mercury is going to float because mercury is very, very heavy. This is just a small idol that I'm using. But if I put this in mercury, it'll float. If I put this on any other liquid, it'll just sink to the bottom. Okay, so mercury has these weird properties, and one of the most interesting properties is that I can touch mercury with my bare hands and it will not stick to my fingers. It does not stick to my body. No matter what comes in contact with mercury, mercury will seemingly look unreactive to it. It will not react at all. So how did ancient siddhars of India view mercury? Now, according to ancient siddhars, mercury was the body fluid of Shiva. It represents male energy. Okay? And what mercury needs is it needs a female element in order to make a union and then give a baby that is known as Rasalingam. So this was the idea behind ancient Indian alchemy. So we have mercury, which is considered Shiva's body fluid. So we have this male element, but it's very potent. So we want to add something to reduce its potency. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add lemon juice to it so we can reduce Shiva's extremely potent fluid. But I cannot pour this into this tiny beaker because it'll overflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add mercury into this conical flask, which is full of lemon juice. Okay, so naturally, I don't know if you can see this, but naturally the mercury has sunk to the bottom because mercury is very heavy. We're going to mix this up a little bit. So I'm just stirring this a little bit, okay? And what you start seeing is something very interesting. The mercury sort of starts to look like fish eggs, like tiny little bubbles at the bottom. I doubt if there's any chemical reaction going on at this stage, but basically I'm just repeating the ancient alchemical process. Okay, so I have stirred both of them well. Now I'm going to set this here. So we have this male element now, but we need the female element as well. According to ancient Indian alchemy, the female element or Shakti is sulfur or Gandhaka. Now we have this naturally available. This is called Tutta or copper sulfate, which is the source of sulfur. But this is very strong, so we're going to reduce the potency of this as well. So we're going to mix this with a salt known as sal ammoniac. This is NH4Cl, which is ammonium chloride. So I'm going to mix both of them together so I can reduce the potency of Shakti as well. It's very interesting to see how all this is visualized by ancient alchemists. You can see Shiva or male element is liquid and Shakti or female element is solid, and we're going to combine all these elements in order to give rise to a beautiful lingam, if we can do this. Okay, so let me mix both of them together now. So I'm going to put the copper sulfate in this. I'm going to put sal ammoniac in this. Sal ammoniac is also available naturally. It's available in places where you can see volcanic rocks. So I'm going to put both of them together. I'm going to mix them up. For those of you who want to recreate this, everything that I'm using is basically of the same weight. I've basically taken about 100 grams of everything and I'm mixing all of them together, okay? And of course, mercury is so small because mercury is very heavy, but that's also about 100 grams. Okay, so I've mixed this up reasonably well. So I'm going to take a metal container and I'm going to put all of this into the metal container. Okay, so now I have Shakti in the bowl and I'm going to add Shiva into this. Okay, right away I can see some changes happening. What was blue in color is now starting to look green. Okay, so I have mixed Shiva and Shakti together, and things are about to heat up. You can see bubbles coming out. The color has changed. Now, the temperature is going to rise dramatically. So I'm going to take this stone slab and I'm going to put this vessel on top of the stone slab. Because it's actually cold now, if I check the temperature of this, it's only about 15.1 degrees Celsius, okay? So that's pretty cold, but things are about to really get heated up because the temperature is really going to get way up. So let's leave this setup like this for some time and see what happens to it. So you can see this union of Shiva and Shakti is getting out of hand, guys, because it's completely boiling over, and you can see like everything is starting to swell even beyond the square slab that I'm using. I'm going to check the temperature of this. Okay, it's like 43 degrees Celsius because it's really hot, and you can see this reaction going on. We have not added anything extra. We have just basically combined all these materials available from nature, and you can see what's going on. This is what ancient Indian alchemists were doing to create solid lingam. So I'm just going to wait for this to settle down, and then we can proceed to the next step. Okay, guys, something weird is happening right now. I thought the reaction is almost over, but if you look at the bottom of the vessel, see what's going on. The vessel is starting to have holes at the bottom, so everything is starting to leak. You can see this? From the top, it almost looks like the chemical reaction is over. From the top, you know, it's not boiling over, or you don't get a lot of fumes now. So it almost looks like the chemical reaction is over. But at the bottom, what's happening is the stuff that we put in is starting to eat the metal away, and everything is starting to leak. So I don't know what will happen if the entire stuff starts to leak completely, and if it spills everywhere, then I may have to abandon this experiment today, okay? But I hope somehow that, it doesn't happen, so I can attempt to make the solid mercury lingam, okay? Okay, so what's happened is very interesting because it spilled over a little bit from the bottom as well, but I believe we have most of it left inside the vessel. So what's inside looks like dirt, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer the contents from this vessel to a bowl like this. So here you can see this just looks like clay or dirt. So I'm going to transfer all the contents over and then put it inside. Okay, so I have transferred all the contents over. Now I'm gonna pour water into it and start cleaning. Okay, this is just regular water. I'm going to pour water into this. Basically, what I'm going to do is just use my hands and start to sort of knead it like I'm kneading dough, okay? Now, why am I not using any gloves or any mask or anything like that? Because basically I want to show you how it was done in ancient times. Many experts believe that, ancient people did not use any protection. They were really casual with everything. I don't necessarily believe that, but I want to show you that we can make a solid mercury lingam without any type of advanced equipment. Okay guys, so I have poured water over and over for about 15 minutes now. I've rinsed this and I'll show you what's left. This is what's left, okay? This is solid mercury, okay? This is a little bit dirty. It's like brown because, see, there's still a lot of dirt left inside. Okay, but this is basically solid mercury, and now we can turn this into a lingam. It's still a little bit dirty, so you can see that it's not completely silvery. It's still a little bit brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a mortar and I'm going to grind it with a pestle so I can remove the rest of the dirt. So what this basically needs is a couple of more washing, okay, a couple of more times of rinsing, and then I'll show you how it looks, okay? After about 5 more rinsings, this is the result that I have. You can see this is a solid ball of mercury. Look at the color. It's silvery white. It's bright colored. It has no dirt because I've basically washed off all the dirt, okay? And what's interesting is that it's sort of pliable like clay. It's not completely solid or liquid, but I can basically mold it into any shape or form I want. So the next step is to make a lingam out of this. So let me clear this out. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to see if I can make this into a lingam. So all I have to do is basically do this and see what's happening. I've made this into a cylinder. Now this is also called a lingam, okay? But the lingams we see in temples have a base called yoni, and then they also have a cylinder on top. Let me see if I can do that. So here you can see I've made a flat base with a nice protrusion. This is typically how you see the bases of lingams. And I'm going to put it down here. And I'm going to see if I can put this on top. So there, that is your mercury lingam, okay? A giant cylinder on top of a flat base called yoni, okay? So this is the mercury lingam that ancient Indians were creating. So how am I able to create this mercury lingam? Is this some type of a magic, or is this some kind of a supernatural event? No, this is pure chemistry. You don't have to follow any set of beliefs or anything else, or you don't have to chant a mantra to create this type of mercury lingam. Now, it does not take a genius to figure out that mercury is basically Hg, and I'm mixing it with lemon juice, which would have a formula like C6H8O7 or something like that. So we're basically mixing it with citric acid, and what we're doing is we're taking Shakti, which is copper sulfate, right? Shakti is sulfur, and we're using copper sulfate and mixing it with ammonium chloride, which is NH4Cl. So what would happen when we mix everything together? Essentially, what you're looking at is a mercury amalgam. Is this an amalgam made of mercury and copper. Okay, and I'm not sure if aluminum is involved in this, okay, because you know what happened to this vessel? I'll show you what happened to this. So it's very interesting because we are not subjecting this to any type of burning or anything like that. All we did was basically put all these seemingly harmless salts and mercury, and it completely destroyed this vessel made of solid aluminum, okay? But I don't know if this lingam also has some aluminum inside. Maybe it does, or maybe it does not. But even without the aluminum, the copper in copper sulfate would have combined with this mercury, okay? So essentially what we're looking at is a mercury amalgam. And this is how ancient Indians were creating mercury lingams and placing them all over ancient temples, okay? Now this is just one of the ways of making a mercury lingam. I've seen so many different ways done by siddhars. For example, siddhars would just take a bunch of leaves from trees and they would put it with mercury and just grind them together, and they could turn it into a mercury lingam. Another thing I've seen is that siddhars would pour liquid mercury on top of this rasa lingam. Okay, it was a sort of a ritual for worshipping this rasa lingam. So you can see how we have combined Shiva and Shakti to create this amazing lingam. Now, another thing that people still do in India today, is that they make it into a ball, and it becomes really solid after a while, and they wear it in their neck, or they wear it in their hip or something like that. There is a common belief that if you wear this ball made of mercury, in India this is called rasamani. If you wear this rasamani, it'll protect you from all negative energy. It's also believed that it will energize all your chakras. But be careful if you buy a rasamani from someone, and if you put it on your body, just be careful, because it generates a certain type of heat, and that can be harmful to you. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching this solid mercury lingam. I've shown you the steps from start to finish, so you too can do this if you want. And this is how ancient Indians were making mercury lingams. You can see that they must have been masters of using all these chemicals, right? So because all these salts, which seem completely harmless, and then mercury and just lemon juice, if you put them all together, you can see how it completely boils. It's like a huge chemical reaction. It destroyed my container, and then we're able to make a solid lingam. And the entire process only took maybe an hour, okay? So it's that simple to make a mercury lingam. You too can try this at home. I hope you guys like this video. I am Praveen Mohan. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.